Welcome, everybody. I am just thrilled that you're all here. I'm going to jump right in and share my screen because we got a few slides to people on, and then we'll turn that off and just have. We're here tonight for the nuts and bolts of financing your retirement. And everybody knows me. I'm Pauline Field, and my company is Retire Happily. At Retire Happily, we've got feisty and fearless over 50 circles, one-on-one coaching, and interviews like today that will help you to navigate this transition, because it's really a big transition, no matter how you look at it. I know I've retired no less than 3 times. In fact, I think I got it right this time. I'm working while I'm retired, which is perfect. Okay. But when you're thinking about retirement, the biggest questions that you have to look at is when and if to retire, because retirement is not a necessity. What would you do if you retired? You can't just sit around. It just doesn't work. Who do you do it with? Where to live? How do you stay fit and healthy? What about if you're single and retired? And the flip side of that is, how do you navigate being part of a couple and retired? And then there's the later years. All the rest appear what I call the vibrant years. At some point, we reach slowing down. Whenever that is, whether it's next year or 30 years, we have to think about it. So today, we're looking at the financial aspect of retirement with Vincent Jacobs. And he's a financial advisor with LPL Financial, which is the largest independent investment brokerage in the U.S. Vincent brings a wealth of experience in providing investment advice to individuals, families, businesses, and nonprofits, including churches. He excels in portfolio construction, management, and risk analysis for investment selection and allocation, as well as overall wealth management and growth strategies. Before joining LPL, he served clients financial advisor with Edward Jones Investment. He was a management consultant at Ernst & Young, a banker at Wells Fargo and Union Bank, as well as other roles as a financial professional. He holds an MBA from UCLA and a BA from Counseling. When he's not working, he's got a wonderful wife that he likes to spend time with, and they're both babies, Penny and Roscoe, and their little dog. He is also an active community member, leading financial literacy workshops on nonprofit. Me, stop sharing my screen. And let's get into some more questions. And by the way, this is an open interview. In other words, if Vincent says anything, or I ask something, or it just triggers something you want to know about, or something that Vincent says that you just want to know more, just pipe up. You can either shake your hand, you can use the virtual hand, or if you would rather, you can put it in the chat, and I will be monitoring that. So you don't have to stand on ceremony. All right, Vincent, one of the things about when I chose my financial, I wanted to know who I was dealing with, what is values and what is background and everything. Tell us a little bit about Vincent.
Sure. Thanks for asking. I think that's very important. It's very important to understand the people that you're working with, because we're entrusting some of the most important things in our lives, right? These things that we worked for. In a sense, you retired 3 times, but when you really think about it, we're really only retiring once when you think about it, right? We're preparing for our future. We're preparing for the rest of our lives. And we're doing it every day. But when it comes to retirement, you want to work with someone that you know and you trust, someone that has your best interest at heart. The reason why I got into the business is not for earning $2 of money. not to have a mansion in Beverly Hills, a mansion on the beachy there, where I really enjoy control for one, but two, I like to impart that information to others. I really have a clear for others because I didn't get a lot of this information before. My parents worked very hard and they saved, but in terms of investing and really working your money or making your money work for you, we worked hard. My dad was it has to be the hardest working being her. Therefore, I got that hard working bone as well. But there's also working smarter and also leveraging what we have. And so I found that not a lot of people knew about that as it went along. And I didn't learn a lot of that. So my goal is to impart that in others. When I see other people, one of their biggest worries is money. What keeps them up at night is money. What's going to happen to me when I retire? What is the deal? What's going to happen when I'm 90? I hope that I can live long enough. Yes. And with modern medicine, everyone's living longer. What's going to happen? Because let's face it, at some point, you're not going to make as much money. So that's really what drives me. As far as my retirement, like you said, retiring 3 times, I'll probably scale it at some point, but I just enjoy what I do. I enjoy the puzzle, and I enjoy sharing. I enjoy doing what we're doing now. So that's part of the thing that really drives me.
Great. Thanks. So let's jump in with when somebody's trying to prepare for retirement, what are the first steps that someone should take when they're starting their financial planning?
I would say, I'm biased. I would say talk to your financial advisor. First, that's the first thing to do. But really what I would say is that's a part of it, right? And so even if you come to me or if you don't come to me, or if you're talking to someone that for whatever reason, they just want to DIY, I would say first, the first thing is to estimate your future expenses. Take a look at what your expenses are now, and then you can extrapolate that into the future. That's one of those things that's just important to do, right? I look at myself as, I can't say doctor because I'm not a doctor of financial. I do have my master's, but I'm not a business financial doctor. But what I can say is similar to having financial checkups. Every year we go into to get checkups, or every 6 months. I think every 6 months. My sister's a doctor, and she says go every 6 months. I think that's a good practice. But it's the same thing with financial advice. It's important to go in periodically and get a financial checkup. And so what I do, first thing I do when I meet with someone, just like you walk into a doctor's office, you have to fill out 15 forms, 15 forms, maybe 3. I said, let's take a look at your existing expenses. What will your expenses look like in the future, right? And then let's say, what do our assets look like? And so that's really where it starts. What our expenses look like? What our income looks like? What do our assets and liabilities look like? So we basically get a full financial picture of where we are today before we start making a plan for the future.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I think it sounds like a really good place to start. How can someone determine how much money they need in retirement?
That's a good question as well. So again, it goes back to that, right? It goes back to, it's essentially, many look at the 80% rule. So 80% of your pre-retirement income is what you're going to need, right? So where's that come from? Sometimes some individuals have pensions, although we know those are going way up. So therefore we have 401k plans. So usually a pension or for 401k plans, they'll have a pension with a deferred comp plan. So that would take up a portion. And then obviously we have Social Security, which supplements that. So that's essentially what we start looking at. So we would say about 80% of what you need going forward. But it's good to take a real look at what our expenses are. Again, we start planning far in advance. So I start planning, we start planning right when we're in college, right? We get a job so we can make money, so we earn money. But really also what we do is when we get about 5-7 years before we plan to retire, we start taking a more of a longer look. And we naturally do it anyways, right? I can't stay in bed and we look at the ceiling and we're like, oh my goodness, what's life going to be like? So that's when you give me a call. You give me a call already. Or talk to someone. Just talk to someone who's an advisor. He does this all the time. And so that's what we, and then that's when you're able to back into that figure. So usually 80%. Some people say, oh, I need $30 million or I need $1 million. Those numbers are arbitrary. Those numbers are, you can't read a magazine and say, oh, I need $3 million. That's just not the way it goes. Different people have different circumstances. 1,000 people have 1,000 different circumstances. So the answer is, it depends.
Yeah, I always have had a problem with any advisor that says, "Oh yes, you need X number of dollars," or the statistics say you need this much. Right? It's fine, but I'm not just a statistic. I'm also an individual. So yeah, it does depend. A lot of on a lot of things. I agree. I absolutely agree. What are some of the common mistakes people make in saving for retirement?
We'll get the first one out of the way. The first one is the rough one, right? And that's where many are guilty, right? Essentially, if you didn't start saving, putting it into an IRA when you were 22, they were all on this boat. And what is that? Not saving early enough, right? So if you're 23, 24, and haven't started saving, then it's a mistake, number one. So let's just get that out of the way, right? And did I over the IRA when I was 24? No. So I'm in that boat. But my point is, it's not saving early enough. And guess what? It's not too late to start saving either. So that's important. Obviously, as we go along, we take inventory of where we are, and then this is where we want to be. And so we somehow have to bridge that gap. Sometimes it's some difficult choices to make. But at the end of the day, if we plan accordingly, I can say this stuff to my clients, things look good. You're on track for retirement, but there's certain adjustments we can make so that we travel first class as opposed to coach. First family, it's nice to travel first class. So there's little things we can do that enhance life during our goal years. So that's number one. The other one is us underestimating healthcare costs. Okay, that's another one. So we have this thing called, if they start to happen, I wake up every morning and I play sports and I'm like, what just happened to my knee? I didn't do anything. I didn't deserve this. And I'm going to physical therapy for my knees. So something else is bound to happen. And there's a statistic, I forget what it is, but there's some major healthcare issue that everyone goes to at least once, right? So are we prepared for that? And unfortunately, some of those can lead to some form of a disability or a long-term healthcare situation. So therefore, the long-term healthcare is something that we definitely need to take a look at. And there's different ways to approach that. A long-term healthcare product, or a rider that goes along with your life insurance plan, or there's something that can be accomplished through Medicare. So those are different things to definitely look at. Another one is failing to plan for taxes. Believe it or not, but you do get taxed on your Social Security. So even though you're saying, hey, I'm going to have this much money, but remember, depending on what type of assets you have, that could be taxed. And there are a lot of different ways that the government wants to come back and get money from you. That's where we come in as well, in terms of guiding you through that process, limiting your liabilities. We work very closely with your tax preparer in order to accomplish those. But those, I would say, are the most common mistakes: taxes, underestimating healthcare, and not saving early enough.
Those taxes, they'll come and bite you in the rear end if you don't. Yeah, it's one of the big reasons to have financial advisors.
Yeah. I do it myself. Even when I do a budget, I'm like, yes, this looks good. And I have to remember, account for your federal taxes, account for your state taxes, account for your local taxes. These are little things that we don't want to pay attention to, but they're real. It's a part of reality.
Yeah, absolutely. How important is it to have a diversified portfolio?
It's extremely important. All the things, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So if you have a lot of money, or you have money, period, well, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to separate it. You want money it's put all your money in Toys R Us, which that was great, right? I love Toys R Us, but the company's no longer. You put all your money in one Kmart stock, and that's gone. You want to diversify so that if something were to happen in this particular investment or this particular sector, if something were to go down, you still have other monies or other investments that will keep you afloat. So it's very important to have a diversified portfolio. I liken it to getting an elevator. You have a choice of elevators. If elevator number one, it has one cable, and then elevator two has 10 cables. Which elevator are you going to take? Elevator two? Because if one cable breaks, you still have 9 more cables to keep you afloat. So it's very important to be diversified. And when I say diversified, also be diversified across asset classes. So right now we're going through some very volatile period in the market. It's up one day, down the next day because of various social or political decisions that are happening. Steel's up one day, or may go gas is up this way. So you have to navigate those waters, and this what we help you navigate those waters to make sure that your portfolio is stable, it's safe, and we put it in the best possible place for you to continue for your investments to perform well and to generate income in different types of weather, as it were. Stormy weather, sunny weather. So you want to make sure that it's diversified in the right place.
Yeah, today environment is a great example of, you can't depend on things being stable. If somebody has some debt and yet they want to save for retirement, what do you recommend as far as balancing paying off the debt and saving for retirement?
That's a really important question. So you want to have liquidity. Liquidity is important. And you have to having an emergency fund is very important. I would say at least having 90 days or 3 months worth of liquidity, because oftentimes something may happen. Insurance doesn't kick in for 90 days. Things don't kick in for 90 days. So at least have that. And once you have that, you still want to have your investments, because you don't want to have too much cash. You want to have enough cash, liquidity, so that you can still grow your investments. So you want to make sure that your investments are growing. You want to put yourself in a position so that your money's growing 5, 10, 3, 5, 10, whatever years out. So you have different buckets. You have a bucket that's right here, cash, in case you need it. 0 to 90 days or 0 to a year. That's short-term cash. So you have another bucket from like maybe 1 year to 3 years or 5 years. That's going to be some conservative monies as well. And this is especially when we're looking at retirement. And then you have more, I would say, aggressive, I'll just say less conservative investments that are 5, 7 years out and beyond. And as the years progress, then you start to chip away at that and make that a little bit more conservative. But as far as, so getting back to debt, so therefore we need that cash, but we also need money to grow. So there are a couple of different ways to look at it. My favorite is the debt avalanche. And that's attacking, if you have high interest with like a credit card, right now I think they're at 24, 26%. You want to get rid of those first, right? Because you're paying so much money for it. So that's the most economical way. But sometimes it looks like it takes a long time for those credit cards to go away because you're attacking the big one, the big monster. But that's usually most economical way. Another way is called the snowball effect, the snowball method, where you attack the smallest debts first, right? So you get rid of that one little credit card, and that makes you feel good. Now you have $40 more to put towards another debt. And you just start with a snowball and you go to the larger and larger debts. So those are 2 ways to do it, to tackle debt. Another way, which my wife uses, which is fantastic, she does balance transfers for credit cards. It's amazing. She's just awesome at that. So she'll find credit card deals and she'll move a balance over, small or large balance, and then you have 0 interest for 18 months or whatever. So she can attack that particular debt. So that's another strategy. Another one I stand by, I think this is really important. If you own a home and you have equity, make sure you have a line of credit. Make sure it's an inexpensive one that you don't pay very much per year. That's going to be there for you in the event that something unexpected happens. So now you have 90 days of cash, but you also have an extra $50, $100, $200,000 on it in the event that you need it for some reason or another. Let's say you are making money, right? And you can credit qualify. Now you have this line of credit. Or if something were to happen and your income goes down, now you are unable to debt service that new proposed line of credit. and you won't be able to get it. So it's best that get that now when you have income coming in and you have that. Again, you have to be responsible not to go and get this fancy $5,000 purse that's not in the budget, right? But, or for me, this new stereo system, actually, I want to use, I want something, we don't need to get into that. But so I have to have the discipline to buy this race car. So those are 4 ways to manage that. And with that line of credit, you could roll in and consolidate some of your debts at a lower balance, but you have to have the discipline to make sure you pay it well. That's the key part.
Yeah. For people who are already retired, how can they ensure that their savings are going to last them as long as they're going to be around?
That's a good question. And again, it's a situation where now you have a 2-day weekend. Now you have a 7-day weekend. Every day is a weekend. So you're tempted to go out and let's go to the mall, let's go to the beach, let's go have fun. When in actuality, you have to really tighten the belt even more so in a sense, right? So one of the things I'll just say right now is if you are in a situation where you have a 401k, there's something called a 4% rule where you have to figure out. So that's when you back into to what you need. So first of all, we're backing into what we need. Let's say we need 80% of our salary before 80%. And let's say Social Security takes up 30% of that, right? So now we have 50% left, right? So we should have that 50% set aside. Now, hey, there's nothing wrong with reallocating or downsizing. Many people say, hey, taxes are in California too much. I'm out of here. Hey, it's fine. So we make the necessary adjustments. We downsize the house. I know I have clients that downsize their homes or they downsize their cars, and it's plenty fine. But we start to look at how much we're going to take from our 401k. And that's usually this rule that's called the 4% rule. So that is in a way you keep your investments, but as your investments are growing at a certain percent every year, but you're chipping away at that about 4% in order to maintain what you need. And that will take you about 25 to 30 years.
Okay.
Another thing I like to do, so as far as making your money last, I like the idea of dividend paying stocks. That's another one too, right? So as we make the shift towards retirement, instead of having Tesla and NVIDIA, these high flying technical stocks, we pull back a little bit. And we have, instead of 80% in stocks, we may go to more of a 60-40 or even a 50-50 in terms of 50% stocks to 50% bond portfolio. So now we have less volatility. It doesn't perform as well, but now we know that we're going to be stable. We're going to be less volatile. And we're also going to shift into more dividend paying stocks. And we're going to look more closely at bond funds and bonds because bonds, like just recently when we had this, the interest rates were very high. That was a great time to pick up some bonds because now you can buy those bonds and they will last you for years at a very high rate. And that's just unprecedented. So those are opportunities to do that. And another one is, so another way to, and we're talking about saving or just preparing in general.
In general.
So then we'll look at annuities as another vehicle to bridge a gap. So let's say we did have X amount in assets in our 401k or IRA, and then we had X amount coming in from our pension or whatever to bridge a gap, maybe it's a 5, 10, 15% gap. That's where an annuity would come in. So you can start that early. And that's why I talk to your advisor early so that you can start paying towards an annuity. And then once it annuitizes, it's going to give you 300, 1,000, whatever that amount of money is per month. According to your, in order to the design of your annuity. It could be for 10 years. It could be for lifetime. It could be for your life until your spouse is a beneficiary and then he or she can continue on. So there's different ways that you can design an annuity to fit your needs. Another one is real estate income. It's something we definitely talked about and huge proponent of that. It's an expert. If you want to know more about that, talk to Valerie Hobbies because she knows all there is to know about. I've checked her out very closely. She knows her stuff. I'm a real estate broker. I don't practice. I just do my own thing. But I will tell you right now, Valerie knows her stuff. She will support this rental income. He's a huge creator of wealth. So let's say you have your own, maybe you might want to build an ADU in the back. Some people like it, some people don't. Or you can shift from a single family to a duplex or a triplex. So these are the things that one can do to generate additional income. We have an ADU, and I will tell you, it's been a true blessing. And so it's nice. And one last thing I would say is part-time work or consulting. I ask people, what do you do at home? Instead of watching TV, what do you watch on TV? What do you find yourself doing on the computer? What are your hobbies? And I say, monetize that, do that. So turn your hobby into money. You love it so much, it's a passion. So why not make money doing it? I think we see more and more people doing it. Those are the things that I think about in terms of preparing, generating money, and living well in retirement.
Yeah. Let's see. So what about things like long-term care? How do retirees, is it too late to get long-term care once you've retired?
No, it's not too late. I would say so it's obviously less expensive when you're, as it becomes more expensive. But one of the big things I would say less than this, they just stop around. There's different types. Again, there's hybrid, where there's you can have it as a rider to your life insurance, or you can get a standalone vehicle as well, long-term care policy as well. And those standalones are very interesting too, because they sometimes will have a benefit option to it. In other words, should something happen, there's money left over and can go towards a loved one, to a beneficiary. So they have those as well. The ones I know of in life, you're paying it for 10 years and then you're done. And it's sitting there ready for you to use. So should you decide to have it, and usually it's one or two things that will trigger it. Let's say you cannot walk and you can't feed yourself or something like that for a period of time. That's when people. So there's several things that will trigger that or say, okay, you qualify for that. But one of the things I would advise, so easy, if we have some pain or something, and we have an ache or whatever, a need, there's something that this is what I know in some policies. I think many, if not all, I won't say all, but I'll say many, maybe most. I'm going to say most. But as soon as you get a shot of cortisone, that automatically negates the policy. That makes you are not eligible for long-term care. So it's about mobility. That's it. Mobility. How can carry on? And so that's something. So be careful with the cortisone shots.
Interesting. Other than, what you've already talked about, are there any other strategies that retirees can help to manage unexpected expenses that might come up?
I would probably say, as far as unexpected expenses, I would say I'm a praying type of person, so I pray. So that's one. Pray that doesn't happen, but inevitably these things do happen. And so what I would say is that working, I would say it's complicated. So I say work with a financial advisor to determine your capacity to have cash, to have liquid assets available. All right. Because it's going to be a combination of a few things. How much can I have on hand as cash? How much can I still have invested? How much exposure can I afford to have? Because it's a risk. But you're also risking, when you have too much cash, you're risking not being able to generate income from that cash. So sometimes people are very fearful of markets. And of course, because we heard so many negative things that happened to others. You have to hear that one thing, or maybe people have had a bad experience with an investment. But you have to have good advice. You have to have stuff advice, and that guidance and education too. I enjoy doing financial literacy workshops where I educate individuals, groups of people, on what a stock is, what a bond is, what a bond fund is, and how it can be managed. And once you understand how it works, then it works well. With some startups, you can own some McDonald's, you can own some Ford. We know these things aren't going anywhere. So we just have to understand how to allocate them and how to make those stocks work for us. So as we begin to allocate a certain way, we know that money's going to be there. So it's just allocating cash here allocating your investments here, understanding the capacity that you have to fund each one of these vehicles that are going to keep you afloat, not to help you survive, but thrive in retirement. That's the key right there, is understanding how to fund those things and how to keep those investments and vehicles rolling into the future. That's how you deal with the unexpected, because inevitably we're going to have those things happen. And if you don't have a line of credit, I highly recommend that. There's one other thing I'll throw in here too. Not everyone likes to hear this, and sometimes I don't always bring this up, but because it's kind of a banger rap over the years, and it's reverse mortgages. So reverse mortgages it's not for everyone, but it's a fantastic tool for it doesn't fit everyone. Reverse mortgage is something that someone can use if you have equity in your home that can give you more flexibility. It's a tool that's reserved for seniors. And what it does is a reverse mortgage. It's a mortgage. It's just a mortgage that's reserved for seniors that will make your monthly payments flexible. You can opt not to make monthly payments. You can take some, you can pay all. But the difference is that you can opt not to make a monthly payment. Okay, you can pay interest only. So that's something that's set aside for seniors, approved by government, and insured by government agencies. And it's something worth looking into. You don't take your home. And since as far as there's stuff, I think a long time ago, 30 years ago, there were some nefarious individuals out there. But now you have to go through counseling and all these different things. I can definitely talk to you more about that, or I'm sure that perhaps you've had someone talk about that point. But that's that one can use in order to create more capacity for having cash and having reserves in the event that the unexpected happens.
Let me just because I know I haven't seen anything in the chat. I haven't seen anybody waving their hands. But does anybody have any questions either from something Vincent has said, or that you just have a question about saving and investing for your retirement?
And if you do, you can after the call, you could definitely bring it up later.
Yeah. All right. This has been wonderful. I know I've gotten some tips and good information here, Vincent. Thank you. Because I think there's always more.
Always.
Yeah.
There could be a presentation on each one of these topics that we discussed this evening. It's pretty detailed.
Yeah. I'm sure. All right. I'm going to share my screen again for a minute.
I have a question.
Please.
I
Go
don't know
ahead.
how to do it.
Just go ahead and ask.
It's Carol,
Yeah. Hi,
and
Carol.
I'm sorry that I left him. I need to feed the dog. He jumps all over me, and everything you said was so interesting, Vincent. One thing that's a constant concern to me is because I listen to podcasts about, I think it's important to get rid of this central bank Federal Reserve System that we have. But what happens to our dollars in the bank? And it's just so hard to know what is going to actually happen as the monetary system changes, what is going to happen to our savings and our cash, or the monies that we have investments, the companies, our portfolio.
So I would say this: I've been speaking in finance for professional life. Again, it's something that I enjoy. It's the passion that I have. And do my best to stay up on current events. Nothing so far has crossed my desk to warrant planning or making changes as a result of these discussions. So in terms of this world debt going away or changes in the monetary system, I don't think it's something we hear these different things. And we have to also, this is my opinion. We have to watch those forces, be aware of those forces. There are those out there that, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. But there are also those out there that like to bring these things because I'll say it like it is. They're making money off of eyeballs on their website or whatever, or their books or their publications. But it's not something alarming. If it's something alarming or something that we need to take action on, I would have known about this. And even though I do pay attention and I hear different mumblings about this, I have clients retirements. Their retirement depends on the things that I do when I stay and what I know. And I want to keep my clients. So my clients are their friends, their families, and they're people that I know. And I'm not going to allow them to be in a situation where they get blasted by things. I care about myself. I care about my family. There's no actions that I'm taking right now based on some potential changes. If that does happen, we will know about it. And two, everyone has a dollar. So a dollar is going to be worth a dollar. So I don't know. There's talk of cryptocurrency and blockchain. I've known about that for a long time as well. But that's something that, as that happens, there's a stable coin. There's talk about a stable coin being electronic currency. Then that's something that we'll have to look at. But we will definitely know that we should begin to migrate towards that. But a stable coin would mean $1, one stable coin. So that's my understanding right now. But I haven't really given too much research yet because it's just not something that's really on the table. I can't imagine things changing overnight, but I am paying attention to the different discussions that are out there. I hope that helps, Carol.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'm sorry, I had a question. I just couldn't unmute.
Hey, go ahead, Maria.
Okay. What I was reading something. I don't have one, but I'm contemplating on adding it to my company for my employees. On a 401k, is it true that if you deposit there, but nobody's moving the money or investing the money, then it's just sitting there?
So there's yes and no. So when you as a business owner, when you set up a 401k, you will have certain buttons that you can push. Okay, this is where when someone enrolls, well, this is what happens to their money. It usually goes into at least a money market fund, but that's where the advisor comes in. So I'm a CR, certified retirement plan specialist. So this is what we do for business customers. We go out and we educate you and your employees. And something that you as an employer you have to have education available to your employees, because then you don't want them to come back and say, this is what happened and they never told me that this, and 10 years later my money's in a money market fund. So in other words, we as the advisors or as the 401k company, we don't move that. We do not invest that money. We aren't advisors per se. We help you provide it. We're fiduciaries from the sense that we're providing that. We're working, but you are the ultimate fiduciary. You're actually the one that says, hey, how is your 401k going? Are you investing? Are you watching it? But on your behalf, you have us come out and we will educate your employees in the lunchroom. So the question, we do or no, we can invest. There's no advisor per se. Your employees will call a 1-800 number. I want to make these changes or have questions, but you do have to be proactive and make those changes on their own. But again, it's important to have the right advisor, and that's me, who comes down and says, hey, these are the things that you have to be mindful of. And they will appreciate that because you're doing that better. It's achieving that. And that by doing that, something it needs loyalty and people won't move around as much. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Vincent.
Is a 401k different from an IRA?
A 401k is something that's provided by an employer, right? So an employer will set up a 401k or a 403b or to the nonprofit or a school. So they'll arrange that, right? Benefit. And now, by the way, it's now something that's mandated by the government. So if you have one or more employees, you're probably getting those messages So something called the super savers, not super savers. Government provide retirement plan, provide a Roth IRA, and we say it's kind of doing business with the DND. You don't want to do business with the DNDs. That's rough. So you don't have any choices. You don't have any bells and whistles. But that's a 401k. So that's it's provided by the company. Then when you move from one company to another, you can open up an IRA and roll it directly into your IRA. So if you have, let's say for round figures, you have $50,000, you've worked at this company for X amount of years, and you're no longer with the ABC company. Now you're with XYZ company, or you're your own. So you open up an IRA, and you will do a direct rollover. That way, it's option. You can either keep it. Some companies allow you to keep it there, but why would you keep it there if you don't have much advice? Or you can roll it into the 401k of your next company, or you can take it in cash, which is different than the wisest thing to do, because now you're going to immediately be liable for taxes. The other one is to roll it over to financial advisor, and that's a week limit. So my plug is that I will be there and I will advise you. You've got my number, and I call you, and we work together to your portfolio, so it has the best chance to grow in a manner that's suitable to you. Does that answer the question, Karen? Good.
Yes. So I think I probably used to have a 401k perhaps, but at my point in life now, I just have probably it's my IRAs, my IRA.
Yeah, probably when you left your company at some point or another, sometimes you get a call, they're like, hey, we're not going to have your 401k anymore. You need to take it somewhere else. And that's probably at that point, you probably maybe open up an IRA, and that's when you rolled it into.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
We're going to move on because we are running it a little late. So what's next? The first thing is make some commitments to yourself. You know, that you are going to make sure that your retirement is funded. Contact Vincent and talk to him about your retirement. Because as he pointed out, every situation is different. It's not cookie cutter. And it's why I invited Vincent, because I was so impressed that he doesn't just roll out a form. He's very much interested in what's your situation. Let's deal with what you need, not something that's unavoidable. And of course, when you're retiring, you might want to think about, okay, what about all the other aspects of retirement? That's right. And to book a free discovery call with me and receive a free assessment, just shoot me an email. And contact Vince. It's
Vincent Jacobs at LPL.com.
And his phone number is 310-990-9580.
That's it.
There's all my contact information, and that's been great having everybody here. I appreciate you all coming. And Vincent, really, he's been so thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
You can, all right.
All right. Take care, everybody.